Whoop.
Never mind.
Okay.
Are you seeing the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Just the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to get on it now.
Okay.
Because I was trying to do the other stuff. All right.
We
Oh,
can.
come on, Kyla.
Brandon, can you let people in?
Come on. What is this thing going on?
Hello, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. It is 5 o'clock. Brandon is letting people in now. So we'll go ahead and get started. We are going to record this too, and put it out on our website and things like that for general information. So I am Stephanie Yocum. I'm your PEA president. And we have our secretary treasurer, Kat Nickel, Jim Palmer, our vice president, and we have quite a few of our executive board also on this call or on the webinar. And so the lay of this webinar is going to work is you can submit questions in the chat, and as we're going through this, and if Brandon, Wilfredo, and exec board, if it's something they can answer, they're going to answer. If it's something a little bit more in depth that your service unit director needs to look at, they'll be reaching out to you, tomorrow to see what's going on and how they can answer questions or anything like that. But also, once we're done with the informational part, which will probably be like 15-20 minutes, and then we'll open up to live questions. And then we have this open through 6 o'clock. So how questions are going and things like that. We will kind of monitor that and see where it goes. So I'm really happy that everybody could get on tonight. This is, I think, the first general meeting for the entire bargaining unit that we've ever done. And so we're looking to do these more often for the entire bargaining unit and do more general membership meetings through webinars and through Zooms. So that more people can get information, because I know not everybody can go to 10-minute meetings and things like that. And we know that sometimes we don't read our email, and we want to be able to give information out in the most versatile way possible. So tonight, Kat, if you can go to the agenda, we're going to talk about a couple things. We have the PERC election for our paraeducator contract coming up. The teacher election is also on the horizon, so we'll be touching base on those things. We have to do petitions for showing of interest again. So we're going to go through that. And then something very new and I'm very excited about is the elected bargaining committee and open book negotiations. We're going to be doing bargaining a lot differently in this coming up fall. And so we're going to go through that, and then we'll answer any questions. All right, so PERC elections. So after the 2023 legislative session, Senate Bill 256 passed, and that's what took away payroll deduction, but that's what also made public sector unions be required to be at least 60% membership to retain their collective bargaining certification and their contracts. If unions are under 60%, they have to do petitions and elections every year to maintain their collective bargaining agreements and maintain the collective bargaining rights of those employees, which we all represent. And so our secretaries just had their PERC election from the showing of interest cards that we did last January of 2024. You can see how far behind the state is in doing these elections. Our secretaries ran from March to the beginning of April, and they had 35% turnout, and 99% voted yes to keep their contracts. And so our paras are up, and turnout is important. 35% turnout for our secretaries was disappointing because state legislators and the people that are pushing these bills that are harming our rights to collectively bargain are looking at turnout. This year, a bill came forward. It looks like it's not moving forward in the last little bit of this legislative session, but they're trying to mandate that if 50% plus one don't turn out for these PERC elections, that you still lose your contract. And so they are looking at turnout. They are looking at participation. And so turnout is imperative. Not only that we vote yes to keep our contract, but that we actually say, yes, I do want my contract, and it is something that I want to keep intact. And so our paras are up next. Their election will run May 2nd through May 30th. And so ballots will be mailed to our para educators' physical address that they have on file with the district starting May 2nd. So most of our paras will start seeing their ballots probably that Monday or Tuesday on May 5th or May 6th. Teachers are still on the docket. We do not have dates for our teachers. But it could even come over the summer. So we have to start talking to our teachers about this upcoming election. And if it happens over the summer, I know a lot of people check out, but we need people to stay engaged so that we can keep our contracts. The new development is with our secretaries seem to have gotten like right under the window. Part of the PERC elections for the last 50 years have been to also have return paid postage on the return envelope back. Starting at the end of April, kind of mid-April, we started having locals across the state that had elections that did not have return postage paid. So they have to put a stamp on the envelope. PERC made that without any rulemaking, without any public comment. They unilaterally said, nope, we're not putting paid postage on the return ballot. And so we're going to have to make sure that our paras and when our teachers are up, that they have to put a stamp on this ballot. It's one more hurdle, but is 73 cents worth keeping your contract? I think so. And so we're just going to have to really make sure that we're talking to our colleagues and educating them and making sure that people get those stamps. Some of the contract highlights as you're talking to your colleagues of what, if we lose elections for PERC, what we could lose. You know, we've gotten pretty consistent raises that have been higher than the employers offer. We still have our $0 healthcare premium for employees, due process protections, which is really big. That seems to be a really hot topic right now in our district and across the state, where employers are trying to deny due process rights. We just won a pretty big arbitration on due process. Paid lunch, paid duty-free lunch for our teachers and our paras. Teacher contract, you know, you can see, and para contract, you know, on the screen. There's some really good protections, and that's just barely scratching the surface. So this is a 50-year contract that we as an employee group continue to make better and better as we go to the table every year, and we need to continue working towards that. And these elections, while we're under 60, are part of that. All right, go ahead, Kat. All right, next up, we have to do petitions again. So last January, we had to do petitions because we were under 60% membership in all 3 contracts. With that certification last year, we had to do cleanup on the units with the district. So they moved our certification date from February to mid-August, which is kind of problematic because summer clean out and people are away on summer vacation. Most of the people we represent do not work during the summer. And so we are collecting petition cards during the month of May, very similarly to how we collected them last January. So at the Board of Directors Rep Council meeting next Thursday, reps will get the packet with their petitions just like they did last year. And so everybody will need to sign another petition card so that we have those ready for when we have to submit all this paperwork in the summer. We have to do this every year until we're over 60%. This not only costs us time and human resources, it costs us dollar resources too. PERC elections run about $2 a person, and they go to the entire bargaining unit. So we're looking at spending between $18,000 and $27,000 split with the district, because the district has to pick up half of it each year until we get to 60%. And so that's one of the reasons why building power is important, because getting to 60% takes away one of these very ridiculous hurdles. And so that is coming to you in May. So make sure that if you're a rep or, you know, you need to help your rep on campus, that we are getting these petitions filled out and back to the office before Memorial Day. And we cannot put them in the courier. So wanted to do that out for you. And I want to spend a little bit of time on this because I'm very excited about moving our bargaining team to elected positions. And so starting now, we are going to be advertising for nominations for the bargaining committee. Historically, the bargaining committee has been appointed by the president per our constitution and bylaws. And so we are wanting to change that to where we have an elected representative democracy for our bargaining committee. And with our contract expiring June 30th of 2026, the bargaining team that we elect will be bargaining the open book contract, which what does that mean, Stephanie? What does open book bargaining mean? It means that ahead of a contract expiring, either side, management or a union, the whole contract's fair game and up for renegotiation. So we don't start from scratch, we start from existing language, but the articles, everything is fair game. And we're looking to come after some pretty significant language pieces with class size and caseloads. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that after I go through the nominations. And so the terms of the bargaining team that we elect in May will serve through June 30th of 2029, the term of our contract, because we do 3-year term contracts. And so self-nominations will open May 5th through 8th. They will go to your work email. And only members in good standing can self-nominate. So if you're not in good standing because of maybe dues payments or something like that, we'll want to make sure that those are shored up if you are interested in running for a position. Electronic voting will happen May 12th through 14th. And when the nominations go out, we'll have a very detailed list of positions, who qualifies for what, etc. So that email will answer more questions with that once that comes out. There will be general positions that will be set and available for self-nomination without a 50% membership requirement. So for example, we'll have a teacher position for elementary, middle, high combo schools and all 7 of our districts. We'll have a para position for those same. We'll have a secretary for those same. And then positions that are over 50% membership. So for example, I'm going to pick I just was doing these lists. So right now, school counselors are not over 50%. School counselors will not have a specific position represented to be elected on the bargaining team. Once we get that up to 50%, we do another round of elections. Then counselors, if they get their membership up, will be eligible for a seat on the bargaining team. Our art teachers, I believe, are over 50%. So art teachers, K-12, would have a representative on their bargaining team. Work sites that are over 60% membership will be eligible to have one person elected from that work site. And if your work site is over 75% membership, you will get to have 2 spots on the bargaining team for elected positions. And so really, membership gets you a seat at the table. And that's how we're going to start running our bargaining team, because membership is power. And membership gets us a seat at the table with the employer. And so we have to work on membership representation before we start electing seats to the bargaining table for your union. One of the exciting things that we are kicking off are with our ESE subcommittees. We are launching that we already met with our captains. We are launching this for a town hall for our ESE teachers and paraeducators on Monday, and they're going to start working in subcommittees to work on their class size, caseload, paperwork requirements, and writing actual language that they want to present at the table in open book. And so these are the types of committees and subcommittees that we want to start with all of our subgroups. If you're an SLP, a speech language pathologist, if you're an OTPT, if you are an athletic coach, if you are an instructional coach, if you're a dean, if you're, an elementary classroom teacher, we want to have these subgroups that have committees and are represented and can present language to the bargaining table, because this is your contract and the experts are you in that position. And so the experts should be writing this language and what you need to best serve the kids that you work with every day. And so that's going to be a little bit different. I'm very excited about that. And so wanted to give you information that that is coming. And I've been working on, dividing up the positions, getting their membership densities, and that will all also be presented in the nomination email so that you guys can all see which positions are over 50%, which positions are not at 50% that need to work toward at least 50% to get a seat at the bargaining table. All right. So I tried to keep it at 15 minutes, and I think I was pretty successful this time. So we are going to open it up for questions. So we can do this a few different ways. You can raise your hand, and then Brandon can pull you in to the panelist side so that you can ask your question. If you want to ask questions in the chat, we can do it that way, and then Brandon or Kat or one of the executive board members can read it out. So there's a few different ways we can ask questions. So I will open it up for questions. All right, I see Kay Earls has a question. So I'm going to ask you to unmute, Kay.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I just got out of tutoring and just finally got my audio working, and I missed the whole thing. Will it be recorded, and can we watch it somewhere?
Yes, ma'am. We have recorded it. We will put it up on our website. And then I believe the way Kat set up the webinar, if you registered, you'll automatically get a recording of it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Lasagna, go ahead and you can unmute.
Thank you. Is there anything in place for nursing instructors? When we come on board, X years of our experience is taken away. And I have previously, in email, IQ ticket, asked for an explanation. Can someone show me something in print? And I've not been able to get anything.
So for like, is a registered nurse under the teacher contract?
Yes.
Okay. Well, with the teacher contract, since registered nurses are under the teacher contract, you should get year for year experience as you're placed on the teacher schedule. Now, as an RN, I know it's kind of weird. You're still placed on the classroom teacher schedule, but you should get year for year experience. And so which work location are you based out of?
Ridge Technical.
Okay. So what I will ask Brandon to do is if Brandon can Brandon will give you his email, and then we can figure out what was sent over and what was verified, and to see if we can help you out with those years of experience.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. I don't see any other questions. So with that, I'll end it with this.
Hold on, there's one question in the Q&A.
Oh, go ahead.
Denise Willoughby says, "Hey, I've been listening to the teachers at my site talking about the horrible insurance the district currently has to offer. Can PEA do anything about next year's insurance for everyone?"
So we sit on the insurance committee, and we have some say in that. And then any deductible changes or anything like that have to be bargained. I know we've had a little bit of a rocky start with the switch over from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Meritain. And so if you have something specific that you are struggling with that you weren't struggling with before, two things that I would ask you to do first. Go through your Quantum Health Care Coordinator, because a lot of the issues have been able to be resolved through the Quantum Health Care Coordinators. If it's still not resolved, send us an email, because we have been uplifting those to risk management so that they're aware and they're working with employees as we're still kind of in this transition period. But nothing changed about the plan design. The one thing we did lose with moving from Blue Cross to Meritain was Blue Cross had a special relationship with Quest Labs, and that went away when we did switch to Meritain. And so it's a little bit different if you're getting labs done at other places outside of the employee clinics. The employee clinic should still be 100% free, even if you're getting labs there. So I would ask that if you're having issues with the insurance and things are changing that you didn't have to deal with before, the plan didn't change. So it might just be some miscommunications with providers. So please go through Quantum Health care coordinators first. And then if it's still not resolved and you're a member, send it to us, and then we will help see what's going on, and we'll help you communicate with risk management.
The district has also asked that they actually put in an IIQ ticket through the risk management side of that, because all of the higher ups are being CC'd on those. So
Okay,
there's
perfect.
a way to track it as well.
Okay.
Another question, will different employee groups be able to have a spot on the committee, for example, library media specialists?
So library media specialists, it depends on your density. And actually I just did library media specialist, and I believe you're under 50%. And so the whole process here is that once we're over 50% in a position, then you get a seat at the table. And that's not only to incentivize membership, is that if you're not a member and you're not helping your bargaining team and look at this, then you're not eating. You know, if you're not at the table, you're not eating. And so to be at the table, the only way we have a seat at the table to begin with is through membership and through a labor organization. And so what we're trying to get people to see here is that it's not Stephanie Yocum is your union, or Kat Nickel, or the other executive board members on this call. It is all of us. And it takes all of us pooling our resources, you know, whether it's dues dollars and or time. You know, dues dollars gives us power. It gives us the way to run our organization and have a seat at the table. And that's why unions were formed to begin with, is because there was a vast inequity of power between employer and employee. And so unions were formed to help equalize the power dynamics between employees and employers. And the only way we can really combat a $2.4 billion entity is to have our resources as employees pooled together so that we can fight the boss and win. You know, and the things that we were able to get done this last bargain at about 50% membership was phenomenal. Imagine what we can do at 60, 70, 80, 90% membership. You know, we can have the power that our union siblings up north have. You know, we obviously cannot strike, but we can do almost everything up to striking, you know, that they can do. And they don't automatically pull the strike trigger either. You know, usually people go on strike after 2 years of trying to wrap up contract negotiations. And so striking is the very last nuclear bomb. And so we have to, as an organization, build power, because that's the only way we continue to have a seat at the table. Because like I had discussed with the PERC elections, us being under 60% is not sustainable. It is going to cost us year after year after year. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And it's designed to be that way because they want to take away our people power. And so we have to have mechanisms in place to get over that 60% hump and stay over it. And we really, 60% is the floor. You know, to have the power that other unions that you think of, like New York City, Chicago, LA, you know, Michigan, like they have the numbers. They have 95, 98% membership that are all running together on the same page in solidarity. We have to get our colleagues to get off the sidelines and get in the arena and put some blood and sweat on their face too, because that's the only way that we win together. And so positions that are over 50%, like library media, school counselors, SLPs, our ESOL paras, and all of the others, our principal secretaries, any other classification, all the classifications that we have under our 3 contracts have the opportunity to have a spot at the table. But with the way we're moving with elections, they're going to have to be at least 50% membership to get that spot. They'll have general seats, you know, secretaries will have, just like I had said, elementary, middle, high, combo, all 7 districts available to them. Same with paras, same with teachers. But to have specific position representation, that position's going to need to be at least 50% to get that spot at the table.
Pam has her hand up.
All right, go ahead, Pam.
Hi, Stephanie. I just wanted clarification for the media specialist. We are talking certified media specialists, not media paras. You won't.
Yes, media paras would have their own spot if they're over 50. Yes, ma'am. Because they have their own classification of positions.
We also have another question in the Q&A from Jane Feeney. Are there any plans to have membership drives at each work site?
Membership drives are happening every single day. So we don't necessarily put on like big blitzes anymore because we're limited in what we can do as far as bringing resources into a school due to the district's lovely staff attorney has really put a kibosh on that. And so membership drives, we actually just finished one that we had been uplifting where recruiters that got new members could win a free day off in May, and that I would come in and take over your position for that day. And so we had started that, March 6th, it ran through April 18th. Once we get the dues poll on the, where am I at? Once we get the dues poll on the 30th to see if those members, completed their e-dues and are all shored up, we'll be doing the drawing for that free day off. And so I want to continue doing things like that, but membership is a daily conversation because if I'm at in my school, I may be able to reach the math department because I see them every day, right? But I may not be able to see the English department. I hardly ever, well, I guess I saw Robin every day because I ate with her. But like, if I didn't eat with Robin, I would have never seen ESE teachers, right? Because it just, or not all of them. And so we have to make sure that every single member is doing membership drives every day, that you're talking to the colleagues that you have connections and relationships with, and that you're telling them your why, and that you're asking them to stand with us, because that's the only way we have power. So we'll continue to do little things like once a quarter or once a semester that are more general drives, but membership has to be a conversation every day. Okay, I can't see the chat side. So just let me know if there's any other questions, or if you want to raise your hand and ask a live question, please do that.
There's not currently any questions in the Q&A or any hands up. I'll give everybody a minute to decide. Kyla has her hand up.
All right, go ahead, Kyla.
Okay, so I think it's really good idea because of that. And some of us have these busy schedules and they can't really get out to everyone. But if you have some help in the school, like secretaries, the one that's asking you questions all the time, that's really, really interested in the PEA and what's going on. Or, you have paraprofessionals that always are coming up to you, get them involved, and they also can spread the word and help get members and help you with meetings or, any other thing that you're doing. And I found that was probably the best way. Paraprofessionals, secretary, some people in specials, someone in ESE, all of those people could be very valuable to you.
Absolutely. Because one person at a school can't do it all. Even if you're at a small school, one rep can't do it all. Membership and upholding our contracts is everybody's job. Union contracts are very different from other contracts in the sense that, a judge isn't the first line of defense to uphold a contract. We are, and so it is our responsibility to know our contract, know what our rights are, know what we can and can't do, and to enforce that contract, because we are the first line of defense to uphold our rights. Because by the time it gets to an arbitrator, you're looking at probably a year and a half after a contract infraction's already happened, just because of the timelines. I'll give you an example. We just settled an arbitration and won. The discipline happened February of last year. The arbitration just happened. And so it takes a long time, going through arbitrators or judges, it's long and slow. And so we are the first line of defense. And that starts with us being proactive and knowing our contract, building our team, because we can't do it alone at our work site. Do we have any other questions in the chat, or anybody else want to come off and ask a question live? Oh,
Jean.
go ahead, Jean.
Hi, I was gonna add a comment on the Polk City question. Although you don't currently have a rep, you do have Karen Gorthy there. I believe she's fourth grade teacher now, that is serving as a point of contact. So if you have questions or something, we're communicating. I'm communicating with her and bringing her up to speed on the 10-minute meetings.
Perfect. And, just kind of looking ahead for next year, we elect building reps every single August. And it's having elected building reps on your campus, at your work site, in your department is vital. Because you may not read an email from me right away, or I saw that email from Stephanie or Kat, I'm going to read it later, and then you forget. It happens, right? And so having that building rep that is your liaison to all the information is so important. And we're going to be hosting more of these webinars so that we can get out more broader information, but having that day-to-day elected rep and having a team built around that rep is vital to a strong, organized solidarity union.
And can I add something real quick, Stephanie?
Of course.
I also want everybody who's on this call to know, because we have 52 people, which is great. Not all of you are panelists. Not all of you are reps. There are so many different ways to get involved in your union. We have a variety of committees. If you are interested in a specific niche, topic, we are always on the lookout for new organizers. So if you're ever saying like, hey, I don't really want to be a rep, I don't want to have to go up against, admin in that capacity, that is not the only way that you can get involved and make a huge difference at your work site. So please, 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 if you're ever just saying, hey, I want to know how to get involved, send me an email. Send Brandon or Wilfredo an email, and we will get right back to you with all sorts of ways that you can get involved.
All right, I see a hand. Ashley Ray, you can go ahead and unmute.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just to speak to that, I joined the legislative committee, and just today I was having a conversation with colleagues at my site. I'm not our site rep at Palmetto Elementary, but it does give me information to share about what the state is doing. And so that is another, just to speak to that point that she was saying, I have speaking points now to colleagues, that I can talk about what's happening in education. So I'm so happy to be a part of that committee.
Yay! Well, and the committees are vital. Committee and caucus, involvement is the tell of a healthy organization. And so the more we can get people involved in what they enjoy, whether it's legislative or PD or membership, or if you want to be on the budget committee and see all that, like, there is a spot for everyone. So thank you for that, Ashley. Oh, go ahead, Jean.
Just to speak to that, we got a call to action today from our president, Andrew, to send communication to your state legislators, because we need to vote no on this new House Bill 123. So check your personal emails. Everyone should receive that.
And that bill, the Senate bill passed today.
The Senate, yeah, so
the Senate
House
side of
bill
that passed today. And what that bill does is it would allow the State Board of Education to say that a school board property is a surplus and that they would have to give it away to charter schools. And so, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's very interesting how that is worded.
Yeah, taking money out of public schools
yeah.
to go into charter schools. So,
Yeah.
no.
So that's an interesting bill. And so we definitely we don't want corporate charters or private schools coming in and trying to take school board property that taxpayers paid for.
We have another question in the Q&A. Dave Steeren asked, is there a standard procedure for telling unit members they are displaced, or is it acceptable to get an email from HR in the middle of the working day?
Well, I mean, HR can communicate with you at any point during the working day, and even after, but you don't have to look at it after or before. Displacement letters should have already been distributed, and Kat, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was a physical letter that they should have received if they were being displaced. And so,
we did have that conversation, and we confirmed, and that's something, please, the people who are on this call, please spread this message that, yes, it is entirely possible and even likely that you will have admin coming to you saying, I'm not sure if your position's going to be here next year. You should probably start looking for something. And we did confirm, until you have something in writing, whether it's a physical piece of paper from your administrator, or depending on what your position is, district-wide or something, and they do send you an email through HR, but until you have something in writing, you have not been displaced. So please don't quit thinking that, oh, my position's not going to be here anyway. There are a bunch of mechanisms in place, but it means nothing until you have something in writing. Dave, I'm going to say, like, another part of that, it could depend on the position. I can see there are going to be times where HR might be better equipped to reach out to somebody depending on where their work location is, or what's going on. Generally speaking, the practice is your direct administrator places a letter either in your box or in your hand. But it is entirely possible to come from HR. We also, and Dave Steeren has his hand up. I'm gonna let him speak to that.
oh yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I've unmuted him. Go ahead, Dave.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, you're a little choppy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, much better.
So what happened today, and I'll try not to give any real details that give anything away, but one of our parents, so my admin was under the impression that they had till May 2nd to notify Paris. And I thought that was pretty close to the timeline we were told the last rep meeting, and May 15th to notify teachers. And so today, one of our paras opened an email that basically offered her a job and told her that she was being displaced and she was offered a job at a different school. But this is I don't know how to say. This is a young para, so she was obviously very distraught, and she was heartbroken by it, and she's a really hard worker. But anyway, it was just a matter of, I was shocked. So I actually went to admin and I was like, did we just displace someone by email? And she said the district sends those out from HR today, but it wasn't from them. And once they found out that one went out, they ran around to everybody that was displaced, including teachers, and made sure they got it from our admin. But I was just surprised the district got involved before admin had a chance, when admin had been given a date so they could do it by.
Yeah, that actually sounds like the admin fell down on their side of the job because they probably knew that position was getting displaced and didn't send out the proper notification.
You're right, they did. They did, but they were told they had till May 2nd to notify that person.
Oh,
gotcha.
Yeah, I think that when we met with them 2 weeks ago or last week, it all kind of runs together now. That displacement letters were all already sent out to anybody who was getting them. So that may have been a misunderstanding on your admin side where they had to notify somebody maybe a little bit earlier.
Okay.
But if your para that got that, or any other person has a question, I believe code is
Will.
Will. Okay. So,
Yeah.
let's try to connect that para, if they're a member, with Will tomorrow. So
Yeah,
that
I
he
mean,
can,
like I said, yeah, they should. Yeah, well, I'll talk to Will now.
okay. Yeah. So let's connect with Wilfredo and then we'll see if we can go through, options.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Any other questions? All right. Okay, I don't see anybody raising their hand. There's no more questions in the chat.
Not as of right now.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and close. You know, thank you all for getting on tonight. I know that, you know, especially this time of year, it's really difficult to get on, and we're all super tired and just counting down the 5 more Mondays we have until the end of the school year. And so thank you for getting on tonight, and we're gonna make these a quarterly event so that we can have some time, you know, for anybody, member or not, to get good information from their union. And we're stronger together. And the only way we're going to weather these attacks on worker rights that has been happening in Florida for a very long time, they're just now coming to fruition, is the only way forward is together. Because our employer would rather not work with a contract than with a contract, because we have power through our contract. They don't get to just do whatever they want to us with a contract. And that comes under our constitutional right in Florida to collectively bargain through our union. And so it is more imperative than ever that we stand together and stand strong through our membership, because that is the only way we retain our collectively bargained rights, is through a labor union with our employer, is through membership. And so let's pool our resources, let's pool our power. And I'm really excited to do bargaining a little bit differently this year, actually a lot big differently this year. And we are stronger together, and we need to make sure that when we're at the table, that they know that we have supermajority participation, because that in itself brings power. You know, our employer, you know, counts 3 things: membership, money, and votes, right? And so they know what our turnout rates are for ratification and for these PERC elections. They know that what our membership is at least every year now once we certify with PERC. They know when we pull super majority actions together, either through emails or, you know, petitions or pickets or whatever we're doing. They see that, and they count on us either having power or not having power. And so I choose to have power, but I can't be the only one that chooses power. You know, all 9,000 people have to choose power, and we have to choose that through our union. And so have a conversation with somebody tomorrow about joining their union if you know they're not a member, because we are stronger together. So I appreciate you guys getting on tonight. Thank you so much. The recording will be available, and you know, you'll get it. I believe the way it works is you'll have access to that, but we will also be putting it up on our website probably by Monday. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a great night. All right, Brandon, I think we can end it. Can you end it on your side?